All right, Shalom. It's your brother Kwashab coming back at you another lesson. Before I get started, I want to give our praises, glory, infinite honors unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who told me this truth and rule well. And peace, blessings, and salutations be to the hopefully elect, as well as those that believe in the gospel and may you endure to the end, Lord willing. All right, and I just want to get into a lesson, basically on this word, superinflation, all right, hyperinflation, because it's definitely, something that's going to come down the pipe eventually, all right. Excuse me one second. But, Salakia, but I wanted to get into it because, as a domino effect, as we see the walls of Babylon fall, this is definitely something that will happen, all right, here in America, all right, which is going to lead to things like famine, all right, and things like, seeing food prices and, as we are seeing now, stupid shit, as we're seeing now, the gas prices are skyrocketing, but I'm going to let this video play, so put some things into perspective for you and get a few precepts of law willing to lesson be edifying, all right? So I'm going to let this play. I might pause it and make a few comments, but it's a quick video.
At any of these stores, I'm talking about Walmart, Target, Costco, Home Depot, anything retail, just expect to spend your whole entire paycheck. And this is because the world's second largest ship.
Real quick, all right, I want you to remember what he said. Just expect to spend your whole entire paycheck, all right? And, a paycheck nowadays, is roughly over a week, all right, or 2 weeks, all right? And if you're spending an entire paycheck, whether it's a week's worth, basically damn near what it is now, depending on how much you get paid, all right? But, wow, that's car keep throwing me off. But, Jake spending damn near $1,000 a month in the grocery store, depending on the size of your family, right? If it's just you, of course, you're not spending that much on just yourself, all right? But, these are the type of times that we're living in, all right? And I'm going to get a quick precept in Revelation, the 6th chapter, all right? As we go into time and time again, just to show that the inflation is going to lead to things costing a day's wages, right? Say you make, $300-400 a day, all right? Well, that's how much food, is going to cost, the amount that you make per day, You go get groceries, and it's going to get to the point now, people have been complaining, all right? Well, it's ultimately going to get to the point to where, things are going to get much worse than it actually is now, all right? Everybody's got demons on them, man. But, Jesus. This is Revelation chapter 6, verse 6. It says, "And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. But see, thou heard not the oil and the wine." All right. And we read in the NLT, it says, "I heard a voice from among the 4 living beings saying, a loaf of wheat bread for 3 loaves, or 3 loaves of barley will cost a day's pay." All right. And, like this guy said in this video, I'm going to go back and let it play. All right. But, prepare to be spending your whole check, all right, getting groceries. And we're not talking about a full basket. All right. And these are the domino effects and things that war can happen. I mean, with war happening, war breaking out, things are already short, all right, on making deliveries and different things, these trucks pulling up to the stores with, the goods. Things already been on a shorter end, And trust me, believe me, I know, all right? brothers that's in this field, driving, and whatever it may be, commercial. You in the field, you know that things ain't what it used to be, and we talking about maybe a year, 2 years ago. All right, not even what it was, 5 years ago, right? But all that being said, the point of the matter, all right, is the food inflation, all right, and these things are actually going to cost a paycheck, all right, and these are the times that we're getting ready to enter into, all right. It's not as bad now, right, but prepare for things to get much worse, you see. But I'm gonna let it play.
Shipping company Maersk suspended transit through the Strait of Hormuz because of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. Maersk is one of the world's largest integrated logistic companies, and while people often think that it's just an oil tanker or container ship operator, the company actually moves almost every single category of global trade goods. So this means if you go into these stores, make sure you only get what you need. This is not the time to buy useless shit, because if you do, you will go broke.
Right? And and mostly, most Americans, they only buy, all right, I forget the actual statistic on what it says. Most Americans only have maybe 2 to 3 days worth of food, in the refrigerator, in the pantry, or whatever. Only have two to 3 days worth of food that they can actually cook, and survive off, if everything goes south, But when you look at the back stock in these stores and in these warehouses, it's not, stocked fully. These people order things twice a week, all right? These people get shipments, from multiple trucks twice a week, right? They're not keeping that stock built up, like you think, man, all right? And when these prices and stuff start to skyrocket, all right, as you see, he pulled up with Maersk, all right? If you get your big ass hand out the way, I can actually read it, but it says that people think, it's an oil tanker or container company. They move a good bit of goods, man, all right? And this is just one company, all right? Imagine all of the other companies that are going to get locked out, with this whole thing going on, which is the premise of this lesson, all right? Now I'm going to get this word, hyperinflation, all right? It says it's an extreme rapid, which is just the AI overview. It says hyperinflation is an extreme, rapid, and uncontrollable economic condition where prices for goods and services rise by more than 50% per month. All right, and we can see that happening with the gas now. All right, as the oil, pretty much the price per barrel is being driven up, by that Strait of Hormuz being closed. And I believe for every $10 that the oil goes up, is about 25 cents per gallon of gas. And I've seen personally the gas go from about $2.30 down here where I'm at in New Orleans, $2.35 to, when I was leaving out this morning, it was at $3, man. All right, $3.01, $2.99. You see, and that show you how quick things can change. All right, and that says 50% per month. All right, we're seeing things upwards about 33% on just a week, right? Oh yeah, it's just gas and things. But what happens when and hey man, Iran said they ain't letting nothing go through there, all right? In which, like I always bring out, the bulk of things in America, all right, are imported, all right? Nothing in I'll say minimal things, less than 10% of the things, the goods that we have in America are made in America, all right? When you look at the back of everything, it's most of these things are shipped in, made in China, made in Mexico, made in India, all right? There's not a lot of things that are made here in America, all right, which is going to furthermore drive up the inflation, right? So it says it causes currency to lose its real value almost entirely, leading to economic chaos, severe reductions in purchasing power, and often forcing a shift to barter or foreign currencies, right? And we've seen this happen over the course of the last 3 to 4 years, all right? You know, you can look at things such as the used car industry, right? You can used to get I remember when I bought my first car coming out of, when I was in high school, I spent about maybe $3,000, cool car, nice car, whatever. That same car today would be still $3,500, which is no way it should still be the same value, right? It should deteriorate in value, but it didn't, because what the currency or the value of the money isn't what it used to be, right? That car now should be nothing more than $1,500, $2,000, right? It shouldn't be upwards of what I actually paid for it damn near 11, 12 years ago, but it's just the times that we're living in. It's a lock you. Damn, sneezed all over myself. But it says that the causes is primarily driven by massive increases in money supply, right? In which all they was doing during the LD, all right, during the shut to the now was what? Printing money out of thin air, man. All right, which made the money actually be less valuable than what it was, And when you look at that debt clock now, the dollar has no value to it, right? So, all of these things are going to add up into what ultimately is going to cause hyperinflation, Excuse me. All right. And that's what all these things are leading to, hyperinflation, But it says characteristics: prices can double in a matter of days or weeks. We don't know what's going to be the ramifications. We don't know how things are going to be within the next couple of weeks. It says fixes is stopping the central bank from printing money, offering required fiscal reforms, or adopting foreign currency. That's cool. That's pretty much the point. All right. But these are the times that we're coming into, man. I keep saying that. I can't stress this point enough. I'm gonna come back to this. I had just bookmarked maybe a few precepts. I really want to just bring that information out. So this 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 25. I'll start at 24. It says, and it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria. Behold, they besieged it until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver. All right, let's get this in the NLT. All right. And get some understanding on, what's going on, And like we brought out at camp, man, this ultimately going to lead, I'm going to have to get it in Lamentations, the 4th chapter. All right. But, well, man, 2 Kings 6 and 25. All right, it says, and as a result, there was a great famine in the city. The siege lasted so long that a donkey's head sold for 80 pieces of silver. All right, and hey, man, 80 pieces of silver back then, that's a lot of money. All right. I wonder what would be the equivalent. Let me see if I can do this right quick. How much is 80 pieces of silver? Salakia, just bear 1 second. So 80 pieces of silver, assuming they are silver shekels. Just a quick response. I ain't gonna dig too deep in it. It says the standard used in the temple will represent roughly 80 days to 2 weeks of wages for a laborer in biblical times. You see that going to ties perfectly in with that Revelation, the 6th chapter, right? It said it will represent roughly 8 days to over 2 weeks wages for a laborer, right? So like if you get paid in a week, right, you would buy a goddamn donkey's head for a whole day's of work, a whole week of work, man, right? Which just shows you how hyperinflation was taking effect back then, all right? And as the scriptures say, that which has been is now, all right? There's no new thing under the sun. As these things happened before, all right, the Lord said, yet greater evils than which thou hast seen shall happen hereafter. All right, let me get that real quick in 2nd Esdras. I think it's 14. 2nd Esdras 14. Yep, in 16 it says, for yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. All right. And if you think it was bad to buy a goddamn donkey's head for a week to 2 weeks worth of pay, you know, or you just wait until things get bad here in Babylon the Great, which you know as America, you know. It says the siege lasted so long that a donkey's head sold for 80 pieces of silver, and a cup of dove's dung, all right, bird shit, sold for 5 pieces of silver, all right. So we'll just go ahead and assume that 5 pieces of silver, you know, will be considered maybe a half a day or a day's work, you know, for bird shit though. You see? That's how bad things are gonna get here in America, man. All right? That's how bad things are just gonna get, that you're gonna have to buy goddamn bird shit for 5 shekels of silver, all right, which would, you know, ultimately, like I said, maybe a half a day, all right, or a day's worth of wages. It's not even a measure, as it said in Revelation 6, a measure of wheat, you know, for a penny, all right. What's that penny? It goes into a denarion, right, which represents what? A day's wages, man. You see? That's what the penny actually represented, a day's wages, a denarion, all right? But you're not even going to be able to get a loaf or 3 loaves of bread. You're just going to be able to get bird shit, man. You see? This is what we talk about, the dark truths of the Bible, all right? This is what we talk about, the nastiness of the scriptures, all right? It's going to get real nasty out here, all right? And, but that was the point. All right, so let me get this one in 2nd Esdras 6, and I'll get out of here. You know, I might leave with exhorting one for the elect, you know, but if you're not of that number, well, I say I was going to get that Lamentations 4 as well. But this 2nd Esdras 6, and I'm going to just get the point. In 22, it says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which every man hear it, they shall be afraid. All right, and just getting the point that these storehouses, these grocery stores that you love to go to and shop, all right, and for your convenience and your benefit, and which we all do. You know, some brothers are into growing the food, you know, growing your own herbs and things like that. But for the most part, you know, not most brothers. You know, some brothers do, but not most, right? And, you know, and that day we just going to have to totally depend on Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, you know, as it says in Isaiah, the 65th chapter. All right. Let's see. I was going to get the Lamentations, but it's all good. I just ended off in Isaiah 65. All right. This is Isaiah 65 and verse 13, you know, because that's for the hopefully elect. You know, we don't have nothing to worry about. You know, Lord, will we be a part of that number? All right. It says, thus said the Lord Yahweh, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. And ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen, for the Lord Yahweh shall slay thee and call his servants by another name, you know. But that's the point, showing that, you know, a lot of you 2/3 out there going to die of a famine, all right? You're going to pine away stricken, wanting for the fruits of the field, all right? You're going to see your body deteriorate, eat itself from the inside out, all right? This is what happens in a time of famine, all right? In a time of hyperinflation, when the money has no actual value, right? But as for the ones who are serving Yahweh by Shem Yahushua in truth and sincerity, who he had called and he eventually will be chosen, all right? They don't have nothing, we don't have nothing to worry about, you know. I don't want to desire, you know, I myself, you know, the brothers in like mind be a part of that righteous number, you know. But that's pretty much the point, man. So, you know, I don't want to desire, this lesson was edifying. So I'm going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors unto Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, by Shem Rachakodash, and Shalom, Rabarakim, Wala Habakarim, Shalom.